Welcome to the Prophecy Club, and by now you have heard that there is another mass shooting. This time it's in Santa Fe, Texas. So today we're going to talk about how to stop the mass shootings. This is not supposed to be coming from a minister. This is supposed to be coming from law enforcement. And I'm going to tell you right up front, this is not going to be a spiritual message. I'm only going to be telling America how to stop the mass shootings. I mentioned prayer briefly, but I'm really going to get to some real solutions here. Now, I mean specific solutions that law enforcement can take to stop these silly, crazy shootings, these killings. Now, we're going to start with a couple of assumptions. We're going to assume that these shootings are not random people going crazy and killing people. We're also going to assume that somehow people are actually being abducted, somehow against their will, without detection from the public, and some form of control is being used over them. We're also going to be setting aside how they control their subjects. In other words, if you want to know about that, then you get the DVD that you can available at watchprophecyclub.com which is called Mind Controlled Gun Confiscation. We're not getting into how they're doing it too much. Yes, while it could be MK Ultra, MK Naomi, the Monarch Project, and there's a bunch of others. But that's not what we're talking about today. I'm going to try to explain how law enforcement, if they wanted to, could actually catch these guys. So I'm not going to try to explain how they're controlled by such things as hypnosis, sleep deprivation, drugs, pain, maybe even a simple pill or hypnosis. Instead, we're going to assume that you folks listening out there can consider that these mass people are somehow being controlled to purchase weapons and kill the people that would not otherwise kill. I'm going to tell America how to stop these mass shootings. Now, here's the spiritual part, which is a short part. But at the end of the day, you have to understand, things in the physical only come after things in the spiritual. Things in the spiritual always take place first. So, if we really wanted to stop these mass shootings, the first thing we Americans would have to do is get the victory in the spirit. The first thing we would have to do, if we want to stop them, and obviously to this point, I'm talking about we as a society, we as a nation have not wanted to, because the first thing we would do is pray. But it seems like the last thing Americans will publicly mention is God. So even when they call for prayer, they say something like, well, I thought some prayers are with them. Well, let me respond to that. Our thoughts won't help them. They won't help the victims. They won't help the shooters. They won't help the police catch them. The only thing that's going to stop these killings, brothers and sisters, in the spirit, the only thing that will stop it in the spirit is prayer. Not one person, but I mean many people need to be calling for Christians and only Christians. We don't want Muslims and the other sort of wrong gods praying for it. Who knows? I mean, they probably wouldn't pray anyway. They want to see it, but that's not to say bad about all the other people out there that aren't Christians, okay? But anyway, it needs to be Christians and only Christians to pray, and I mean begging God to stop this killing. We don't have to name what people, what organization, or even how it's being accomplished, because God knows all that. We just need to be begging God to stop it, to see that somehow He decides to stop it. And how He decides to stop it is not our concern, but He needs to decide to stop it. And for Him to do it, for Him to get involved, we are going to have to step in with our prayers. All right. Now, have to understand law enforcement without prayer is going to fail. The problem must be one in the spirit. First, we must get God to move His hand against whatever is doing this. Many prayers, ideally fasted prayers, must be sent to the throne from His people. Psalm 34:15 says, the eyes of the Lord upon the righteous, and His ears are open to their cry. James 5:16 says, the effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. Meaning, our prayers are powerful, especially when we get together as a group. As a nation, we start praying, saying we want these sprees, these killing sprees, we want them stopped, and they would be stopped. All right, now, aside from that, let's get to the law enforcement side. Let's get to the physical, the natural side. These killings must be some kind of a disciplined group. Not 1, 2, 3, but probably 4 or 5 men per group. And there's probably more than one group. Just guessing based upon, and this is just a pure guess, but my guess is there's probably 2 or 3, probably not more than 5 groups of people out there that are actually orchestrating this. Now, if you want to catch them, who do you look for? Well, I would say, and by the way, no law enforcement person has called me and given me these ideas. Neither am I telling the law enforcement agencies out there what to do. They probably know more than me what to do, but who knows? If I'm giving them some ideas, it's motivating, somebody's out there listening, good for you. So if I were a law enforcement officer, what would I look for? I think that we ought to be looking for a group or several groups of men. I probably don't think that there's women involved, but I couldn't rule them out. Probably all men working together. Even evil people abducting people, and if they're doing this in a very, very easy, effective, very advanced manner with some kind of a control device, if that's happening, that is another thing. I'm going to call it a control device because it's easy, and it may not be mechanical. It may be a pill. It may be a chip. Maybe some kind of a potion or lotion. I don't know what it is. So somehow they're getting control over these people. But we can't rule out mechanical because probably it is some kind of mind control. In other words, a chip. Maybe it's a chip they insert in them, and then they have control over these people. And maybe that's the reason they have the person kill themselves before they get caught. Again, there's too many things we don't know, but just because we don't know all of those answers doesn't necessarily mean that we can't put a stop to it. You understand? You don't have to know 100% of it to put a stop to it. So, they can't affect someone causing them to kill from satellite or by phone or internet. Okay, so it has to be some kind of a hands-on. So if it's some kind of a hands-on, then we can catch them. Now, it isn't likely that they have one central location that they're grabbing these people off the street and transporting them to some mind control victim overcoming hideout someplace. That's probably not what's happening. Probably not, but because these are all over the country. So they probably have some kind of a traveling lab of sorts. In other words, like an RV, a bus, a tractor trailer, in which that they can abduct these victims, grab them in there before their friends and neighbors and relatives and church friends and work friends and business friends and people around them really know. So they jerk them off the street unbeknowingly. And again, I'm only guessing. I'll keep going. You'll see where I'm going here. So they grab them off the street. They put them through some kind of treatment, whatever it might be. They probably have several of these labs that they move around. I recall reading a story from a minister. I've looked for it. I can't seem to find it. Perhaps you can find it and send it to me at askstan@prophecyclub.com. But I remember somebody emailed me this story about this minister. Someone, he was saying how some things, some people in high places apparently contacted him, told him shut up. And they warned him that if you don't shut up, you don't stop saying this, that they would kill him. And they told him that they would never be caught. He says, if we can have some guy drive into you and cause a car wreck and he'll kill you and they'll never be able to catch us. Well, he said about 2 weeks later, he saw a man he saw him. He says, he was trying to hit me, trying to run me down. And he says, and he did hit me, but it didn't kill me. It was just a minor accident. He said, I got out in a car, walked over to this guy, and he says, it was almost as if the guy didn't even know he had been involved in an accident. It was kind of like he was out of it. It was like he was under some sort of trance. And the man was trying to run in me, he said, and he was trying to kill me, yet some 2 minutes after the accident, he didn't even realize that he'd been involved in an accident, much less beginning to tell us that he had been abducted or somehow controlled or made to do. He didn't know any of that. Certainly not to tell anyone how he was hypnotized or drugged or whatever. They told him that there was no way they would ever be caught. Well, let me just tell you, there is a God in heaven that revealeth secrets, and he will show us and he will tell us how this is happening if we pray hard enough, brothers and sisters. So after a shooting takes place, if I were law enforcement, I would go into the local hotels and the restaurants. I would begin asking questions. Why? Because they still got to eat. They still got to have a place to stay. Somebody somewhere is seeing these people. They've seen these groups. Now, I don't think that they look like they've been sleeping under a bridge. I don't think that they look like they've been staying out of doors. They probably don't look like normal people. Now, again, I'm just guessing. I would probably look for a group of men that eat and stay at the same hotel. It may be that the programming would allow them where they can stay in person in other words, around a person for several years and simply be set off by reaching a date on the calendar or culprits are long gone. Perhaps it's a simple phone call to set these people off to all of a sudden make them turn from a normal person into a shooter. So I would start looking for phone calls on the person's cell phone. Now, we hear these people's cell phones are confiscated, but, the news never does get back to us, say, hey, well, we didn't find anything on that shooter's cell phone. We never do hear that. But I would start looking for similar phone calls, similar phone numbers across several different shooters in their cell phones. In other words, I would start looking, because these guys that are going out in groups, they have to stay in a hotel. I'd be going around asking people at a hotel, you see any groups of guys that are seemingly out of place, that seem like they're particularly evil? I'd be going to restaurants. I'd be asking around. I'd be dropping off cards. I'd be putting up billboards. See anybody suspicious like a couple of weeks before this last shooting? I think I'd be going to places where car repair. Look, man, they're driving some kind of vehicle. That vehicle's got to have some kind of oil change, some kind of maintenance. I'd be going to repair shops. See anybody strange? Now, one person might not be able to catch them, but look, they're very, very organized doing this. And so we can, on the good side, get very, very organized in stopping them. I would begin searching these hotels and restaurants and car shops. Ask for strong military or ex-military type people who seem suspicious. Common sense says to grab and conduct mind control, surely it takes a few abductions. Surely they have to be in a town for at least a few weeks and probably within a few weeks or so of a tragic shooting strike. In other words, I would go and be asking around about these right after a shooting in that area. Somebody someplace saw something. I'd be dropping off cards. I'd have a group of people that follow these shootings around, follow them around for several weeks and months before and maybe a few days, maybe even a few weeks afterwards. I'd be asking lots of questions because somebody someplace has seen something. If these shooter groups, we'll call them,
we'll be right back after this message.
The recordings discussed on the Prophecy Club today are typically offered for a gift of $30 per disc or title, a double disc for $45 or a triple disc for $65. But if there were a way you could watch this DVD for 50 cents to $1, would you want to do it? Well, go visit watchprophecyclub.com, where you can watch over 160 Prophecy Club titles for an introductory monthly recurring subscription of just $20 a month, or a yearly subscription for $200. The early $200 subscription is the best deal because it locks in your rate against increases in monthly subscriptions. That's watchprophecyclub.com. You'll love the format. It's easy to watch, and the quality is great. watchprophecyclub.com. watchprophecyclub.com. Go check it out today.
And now, back to the program.
Follow him around for several weeks and months before and maybe a few days, maybe even a few weeks afterwards. I'd be asking lots of questions because somebody someplace has seen something. If these shooter groups, we'll call them, if they are in some type of an RV, bus, tractor, or something like that, they can't just park alongside a road. You're probably thinking that would be impossible to catch, and without God, they would be. But with America's praying, God could arrange for them to get caught. Now, you ever heard the old saying, well, you can't keep a good man down. Well, I add to that, you also can't hide a bad one. In other words, sooner or later, a bad man slips up. It's the judgment of God. That's the way it works. Usually sooner, but usually God doesn't let them go very long before he causes them to stumble and get caught. Gives them a little chance to turn around, gives them a little chance to repent. But at the end of the day, most of them get caught. Look at the East Area Rapist and the Golden State Killer, okay? He raped and killed for some 40 years, but eventually he was caught. If you look at it, very few people that do really, really bad things over really long periods of time to a lot of people, very few of them don't get caught. Unless they have someone above them helping them. Now, in my opinion, I don't think that this could be going on because obviously they have to make a phone call. Somebody someplace is above them. They're checking in. This is not just a group of 4 or 5 guys that just were drinking at a bar one day, decided they'd just get themselves an RV and go around and start killing people. Go around and start making people do mind control and grabbing guns and doing this Las Vegas shooting thing. Okay, it's not that. It takes organization. It takes organization high, probably within either ex-military or CIA, possibly FBI, something in there. It takes money, it takes organization, it takes someone able to select people that are right for this program. You see, not just right in terms of subjects, but right in terms of people that can implement it. And they have to communicate. That means they're on the cell phone. That means they're on the internet. Well, who is it that monitors every email? Who monitors every phone call? Is that the FBI? No. Is that the IRS? No. I seem like it. Who is it that does that? Well, folks, that's the NSA. See, a couple of phone calls to the NSA saying, I want you to enter into your computer anyone that is saying this set of words. Now, we've been told, I guess it was Ted Gunderson, former FBI director, gone to be with the Lord now, told us that they have about 100 trigger words, and he gave us those trigger words. In other words, you say certain words on any kind of a device. I mean, if it goes through the ear, if it goes through the internet, a wire, a fiber optic, if it's computer, if it's voice, if it's fax, anything, any kind of communication is all tracked and monitored. And if you say the wrong word, then that word is monitored by a computer. They're all of them are recorded. And if you say the wrong word, then that might be printed out and dropped on someone's desk for them to look into further. In other words, somehow, someplace, it's got to be people in a high organization. I don't know if it's military, FBI, CIA, NSA, I don't know, but I'll tell you who has got to cooperate in it. And that's got to be the NSA. Because these are the guys that monitor all of our communications. If you want to shut it down, you'll shut it down through the NSA. If you want to cover it up, it must be cooperation with the NSA. Or these guys are not talking through any kind of a cell phone or on the internet or anything like that. They would have to have some kind of secure communications that could not be monitored. And if they have such a thing, again, that's high organization. They are extremely organized, they're well funded, and they must have the cooperation or some method to go around NSA monitoring. See what I'm saying? I'm saying that they could be caught, but the only way they're going to be caught is for someone in a really high place. NSA, top of the FBI, top of the CIA, something like that. Or maybe the president step up and finally get some of the deep state to turn good for a change and let them monitor. Look, with 100 set of probable words, they could find these groups probably within a couple of weeks and nail them and take them out. So it has to be well organized, way up high in some kind of a government organization. If they're not a government organization, military or something like that, it never happened. You're not going to get 5 guys in the bar to just decide that they're going to go off and come up with this advanced MK Ultra, MK Naomi Monarch program. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to have people that are going to be that organized. And now let's go to the next topic, and that is pattern. If it were just random killers with guns, there wouldn't be a pattern. But I'll assure you, brothers and sisters, there is a pattern. Now, we in our jobs, we might not be able to find it, especially since we aren't given all the information. We're not given enough information to find it. But these guys, there are people out there that are good enough to recognize the pattern. These are not just random shooters, not just killers gone crazy. These are people carefully picking their targets. They're carefully organizing all of it, well-funded, well-organized, well-connected, connected in high places, and there is a pattern. The pattern and the motivation is boiling down to this. They want to make America give up and finally say the words, all right, fellow Americans, it is time. We must surrender our firearms. That's the only solution to stop this. No, it's not. What we need to do is find people in high places in our government that's going to go over to NSA. I mean, like, if I were president, if I were Trump, maybe what I'd do is roll up about 400 Marines to the NSA headquarters with their weapons in them, and they would go in NSA and say, here's what you're going to do. We're going to stand right next to your computer. You're going to enter a number of 100 words. We're going to find these boys. We're going to shut them down. Just like if I were the president, I'd send over about 50 Marines over to the Department of Justice, and I would send the first one in with a letter and saying, you're fired, and you're fired, and you're fired, and you're fired. You're not going to throw away anything. You're not burning. You're not destroying any of the evidence, and have it all rounded up and expose all of their filth, all of their evil that they're hiding behind saying international or national security. Okay? In other words, got to put a stop to it. And it might take just that kind. I mean, right now they're not cooperating. Okay, so back to our topic here. So, how are they gaining control of the victims? How are they gaining control of them? You see, they can't just pick them up off the street for a few hours, or I don't know, but surely it takes several visits over several days to mind control these people. But what if they have perfected it to the point that they can just pick up a person one time for a couple of hours, give them some kind of a pill, a potion, lotion, inject them with some kind of computer chip or something like that, give them an instructional film, hypnosis or something like that, put in some kind of computer chip, and then, anytime they want to, control them? What if it has progressed to that point? All right, that brings us to the next question. So, how are they controlling? How are they pulling the trigger? How are they getting the subjects to say, go? Okay, today's the day. This is the target. Going to go get them. Now, I'm going to pull the next little bit directly from the DVD. I have the PowerPoint from Bill Sneblin and from his DVD that he made for Prophecy Club called Mind Controlled Gun Confiscation. If you haven't seen it, go to watchprophecyclub.com and watch it. He explains that there's 5 levels of mind control. Alpha, he says, is most common. It results in high-level memory, superhuman strength, and visual acuity. Beta, he says, is mostly females and sex slaves. Delta is special training, military, blood flow control, pain reduction, wound healing, stuff like that. Theta is enhanced psychic abilities. Omega is a self-destruct program. If you'll notice, a lot of these people that go out and do the shooting, one way or the other, wind up dead at the end of it. They don't ever wind up in jail where they can be questioned. Then, of course, enters DARPA, or the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, which is the science of brain-machine interface, and the Multiple Microelectrode Array. Let me say it again. Multiple Microelectrode Array, MMEA. In other words, put a chip in somebody's brain, control them. MMEA can intercept and record from biological tissue, in other words, like nerves and brain cells. It is technologically possible to send a signal from an RF transmitter to give an individual with an implanted MMEA chip strong sensations of pleasure and pain. Now, this is what we knew 20 years ago. What we don't know is what they can do today. Technology that can directly read thoughts from the brain and also implant thoughts, like leading scientists such as Professor Kevin Warwick in the United Kingdom. And, of course, we all have to remember the principle of black science. He says that citizens who have been chipped could be made to do virtually anything through pleasure, pain, stimuli. And, of course, this could be carrying forward the creepy work of Dr. Delgado. Entire towns could be controlled with this wireless cloud if they were chipped. Now, how they're doing it, we don't know. How they're doing it, we don't have to know. Who they are choosing, how they are choosing as their victims, we don't have to know. But what we do have to do is first pray. Because for us out here that's not a part of the military, not a part of law enforcement, not high up in some government position that could make a difference, all we can do is pray. So brothers and sisters, recommend you pray. Because what is their objective? If you'll think about it, through the only reasonable conclusion that you can go for, the only thing that it boils down to is obviously somebody wants to confiscate our guns. They want to make Americans so frustrated to where Americans will throw up their hands, even the gun owners, even the NRA people, and say, guys, we got to confiscate the guns. Now, more of this is discussed in the DVD Mind-Controlled Gun Confiscation. It's available for a gift of $30 at prophecyclub.com. Or you can go to watchprophecyclub.com and you can watch 160 titles for a gift of $20 a month. The recordings discussed on the Prophecy Club today are typically offered for a gift of $30 a month, or $30 per disc. A double disc is typically offered for $45, $65 for a triple disc, but there is a way that you can watch DVDs for somewhere in the ballpark of 50 cents to $1 each by going to watchprophecyclub.com, where you can watch over 160 titles for an introductory monthly recurring subscription of just $20 a month, or a yearly subscription of $200. Now, the $200 subscription for a year is a much better deal because it locks in your rate just in case we do increase our monthly subscription, and that's probably going to happen. WatchProphecyClub.com. We had one of our best supporters email us and say, you will love it. Its format, it's easy. It's like watching any other video. The quality is great. Go to WatchProphecyClub.com and check it out. WatchProphecyClub.com. And remember, this is summer. Summer means that just about all ministries struggle, and especially ours, it seems like. Along about middle of May, our mailbox goes flat. Obviously, we're going to vacations and things like that. Well, brothers and sisters, we ask you to still remember your Prophecy Club, because we need to continue, because America's running out of time. These things we're talking about, they're coming on us hard and fast. So I'll close by saying thank you for listening, thank you for your prayers, and thank you for your gifts of support. God bless.
Now from the Prophecy Club, some exciting opportunities for you. The Watchman's Trumpet will allow you to gift free coupons to friends to watch Prophecy Club DVDs online. They get saved, and it counts toward your book of works because it was done in cooperation with the Prophecy Club. When you donate for Watchman's Trumpet, end your gift in a 7, and we'll give you 20% extra viewing credits for helping create the program. The cost to write the program ranges from $70,000 to $150,000 from 2 to 6 months to write. Once Watchman's Trumpet is online, you can set up your account for $1 and get 4 credits, or you may choose a larger block of credits. You can immediately begin to watch any Prophecy Club DVD or send out free gift coupons to others. Send your best gift to prophecyclub.com now to help us write the program. Make the last digit of your donation a 7, and we'll give you 20% extra viewing credits in the new Watchman's Trumpet program when it comes online. At prophecyclub.com. prophecyclub.com, Watchman's Trumpet. Dr. Bree Keaton just made a brand new DVD, and I love it. It's called Is Trump or Patrick Henry? Now, it's not a political talk. Bree's mother was a descendant of the patriot Patrick Henry. She reveals shocking, never-released private family records, bloodlines, and gives you the true story of how God used Patrick Henry to save America. She helped me to see more clearly where we are and where we're going, because most of history has already repeated itself. I promise you will like this DVD. Is Trump our Patrick Henry? prophecyclub.com.